Okay, we're going to go from a bare Muse score document to a full composition in no time at all. Just going to click on this and give it a title. Gonna say the composer is me. I'm going to choose my chord progression, which I've gone over in a previous video, but I'm just going to do this quite quickly. You guys can see there, I've got the 4, the 6, the 5, and let's give it a 1 chord. Okay, now beautiful. Holding the shift down, up, holding the shift down, Control C to copy, next line, paste it, paste it, paste it, paste it, paste it, and paste it. I've got a whole page of this chord progression. Now, next step, under Edit, Instruments, let's add an electric guitar, strings, yeah, this is under Strings, Plucked. I want to add an electric guitar. Where is it here? Not the tablature one, that's kind of a weird way of writing music. Let's go with this electric guitar standard. Boom, it's added for me, the instrument. And what I can also do is, I can also say, like, I would rather have that one on top, the electric guitar, and the piano on the bottom. And now, look, there it is, it's done. Okay, so let's maybe be smart to save that. And it'll bring up, oh, look, there's the malware song that Shawcat and I were talking about. Song for the class of today, and this is the MSCZ. If you want to email it, remember we go here and say uncompressed score MSCX, which you can just do save as and save it as that afterwards. But anyway, okay, so here we go. Last, final step when we start talking about melody, we can do things like be really, really simplistic and say, I'm going to go some quarter notes on the root note. Okay, so see how that's the bottom note, the root note. And I can do that and go to the next one too and say I'm going to do the same thing here. And the same thing here. Okay, so why don't we listen to that and okay, there's nothing wrong with that. That sounds okay. But it's not super exciting. And what I'd like you guys to do is to try and venture into more interesting territory with your notes and your rest values. You could do things like, if you look here, the quarter note and the dot, put the dot on it. So when you go to, oh, and we have to make sure we're selecting it, we're writing notes. You can do this and you can go down to your next bar and maybe instead of using the root note, why don't we just think about the whole scale? We're in C major and see what we can do with that. So we got that dotted quarter note, and you remember dotted quarter note plus an eighth note make 2 full beats together. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to keep writing a few eighth notes, and I'm actually just going to treat this like I'm in C major, and I'm going up like every second note is what I'm basically doing, and then back one. So I'm going C up to E, back to D, up to F, back to E, and then up to G. And all I'm doing is taking the C major scale, 1, 3, 2, 4, right? You can see what I'm doing. It's the same thing as the thirds on our scale page that we do in band, but listen how different it sounds when we get there. This is the first part again. Now we get into some more interesting. Whoa! Super different sounding, right? Not at all sounding like just plodding along with the chord progression. It starts to sound like a whole different thing. Whoa! This is when you start getting into voice leading and some fancy stuff. Mess around with the quarter notes. I'd advise you not to get into the 16th notes or these things called 32nd notes. You're going to have so many of them in a bar. It's so hard to write them. And also, if you are getting into this, do zoom in because it makes it way easier to see this stuff. You can see how hard it is to plug each little note in on the line space. If you do that zoom in thing I just showed you there, and you can pause the video here if you want to see where this is under view, and right there zoom in. Okay, so that makes it a lot easier to plug the notes in. But how much more interesting is it to have dotted rhythms and eighth notes and quarter notes and half notes, and not just following the melody, not just following the chord progression, but actually stepping out of that and saying, how do I take the C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, that's the C major scale, and play with those notes around and see what I can do. You can even, stuff like this, once you get your rhythmic pattern, you can go, well, what would happen if I did it like that instead and moved that note to there? Wow! Totally changes the whole feel of the thing. So play with it. Maybe even go back to some of the melody you already wrote where you had the same note multiple times, things like this, and say, well, why couldn't I do something like even just moving through the notes of all the notes of the chord? Like, see the chord down there? We got A, C, and E. So now I've got this going A, C, E, C. It's going to sound different than just plodding along. Wow, so much different. Okay, my challenge to you is go on an adventure, a melodic adventure, and get yourself, I don't know, 16 bars of chord progression, just cut and paste, the way I just showed you there, and showed you in the last video too, and then go on a melody writing adventure. Don't try to make it sound like something you've heard before, especially exactly. That's called plagiarism. That's illegal. Try to make it your own, right? You're not trying to steal somebody else's song. You guys got lots of great creative ideas. This is a way and a chance for you to try them out and get to hear them and keep changing them and moving them around until you get exactly what you want.
Song that I was just working on and on the computer, and I'm going to take it to the next level and see if I can't lay down a little bit of a audio track, what I'm doing here, and hit record on that. Got a little drum track going, and let me see if I can't record this here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1.